Ladies and gentlemen, I'm coming to you live from Waco, Texas. I've got an interview going on, and unfortunately my camera's not working, so all you're going to be able to do is hear the video. But I would like to interview some people on the street. How much do you know about slope? Ma'am, could I please have your attention? Could I ask you a question about slope? Why, yes, you sure can ask me a question. Well, ma'am, could you please tell me, what do you know about the slope of a line? Well, young man, I just don't know much at all. It's been so long since I took that algebra a long time ago. I don't remember what I know. Well, ma'am, can you remember anything? Can you think back? Can you remember anything about slope? Well, boy, I might remember something. I might remember that it has something to do with how steep it goes up and down. That's what I kind of recall. Well, ma'am, that is exactly right. And that's what my students need to know. Thank you so much, ma'am. Well, you have a great day. Well, sir, could you please answer a question? Why, yes, I would love to. I'm visiting here from jolly old England. I would love to answer a question for you. Well, sir, could you please tell me, do you study slope in England? Well, why, yes, we do study slope in England from the wee years and to the high school ages as well. We do study slope. Well, sir, could you please tell me, what do your students in England learn about slope? Well, when we talk about slope, I would like to tell you a very few things about slope in England, in jolly old England, because we love to talk about slope as it relates to the tube. The tube? Yes, the tube. You know, our underground system, the tube. Oh, yeah, like the subway system. Why, yes, it is, but we call it the tube. And so we love to talk about slope on the tube. It's just one of the things we do. We get in the car and we just talk about slope. Are we going a positive slope? Are we going a negative slope? Are we going up? Are we going down? I don't know. Sometimes we just have this little quick turn and we don't know which slope we're going up or down. It could just jerk us around and we could go up and down and we just don't know. Well, sir, did they teach you that in school? Absolutely, they teach it to us in school. The children all over England remember everything about slope. It's so important to know. Well, sir, could you tell us one thing that your students love most about slope? Why, yes, I would love to, and that is the formula that they use to find the slope when I'm given 2 points. You know, it's M, because we like to use M for slope. I don't know where that came from. Do you know where M came from? Why would they use M? Well, sir, I don't know. I've been asking that question all day long, and nobody can tell me. Well, I'm just going to guess I don't have a clue what is M. Maybe because you have to go up and then go down to make an M. I don't know. That just is logical to me, but I don't know. But we learned the formula for slope from a very, very young age. And the formula for slope is M equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. It's a very important formula that our students learn. And we talk about on the tube all the time. And even there are posters on the wall. And some people like to do positive graffiti and put the formula for slope on the tube, and it just helps all the children who are riding the tube to school because they can see what the formula for slope is. Well, so that is fascinating. I'm gonna have to go to England and just ride the tube just so I can learn some more math. Well, we would love for you to come, and when you do, please look up my school, and I would love for you to come visit with us. So, ladies and gentlemen, those were my interviews on the streets of Waco, Texas, talking about slope. Now let's see if we could learn anything from them or what you remember. So here we go. Finding slope from a table, a graph, or a set of points. Now, the old lady and the guy from England told us a few things. Slope does have to go with up and down. So let's fold our notes page up and let's just write a little bit about slope right here. So I'm going to put slope. And some people like to say it is the steepness of a line. How steep is the line? And what they didn't say, there's not supposed to be a space there between steepness. That's all one word. So I'm going to draw a quick x and y axis. That's the x-axis. That's the y-axis. If I draw a line here, remember our lines have to have arrows. This would be a positive slope. And I could draw one here. That's again my x and y axis. And then I could draw a line like this with arrows on each end, and that would have a negative slope. And I know that much of this is a review for you, but I just want to make sure we have it down and we understand. So how steep is the line as it rises or as it falls? That is the slope. And there are several ways that we can find slope. So we're going to go back to our notes page. When we know a set of points, you learned a formula for slope in the past, and that formula is m, which is what we identify for slope. Again, I have no idea why they chose the word m. M equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And just to clarify, the 1 and the 2 are what we call subscript. Superscript would look like an exponent, but a subscript is just an identifier. It identifies that this is the second x and this is the first x, or the second y and the first y. So don't put it right next to the y, it has to be a subscript. You'll learn this in science as well when you talk about chemistry and chemical formulas and such. So let's plug in. Now this is the first point, negative 5, 9, and the second point is negative 1, 19. But because we live in America and we can make our own choices that we want to, I can make either one the first point or the second point. I'm going to make the first point, I'm going to make the first point x1, xy1, and x2, y2. That way I can identify them and put them on my formula real quickly. So m equals y2 minus y1, which is 19 minus 9, over x2 minus x1, which is negative 1 minus negative 5. Okay, we have these minus and negatives and stuff, so feel free to use a calculator. 19 minus 9 is 10, and negative 1 minus negative 5 is the same thing as negative 1 plus 5, which would equal 4. And so I've got my slope 10 over 4. I just need to simplify my fraction, would be 5 over 2. And we really want to keep the fraction improper or proper fraction because, as you'll see in just a second, it's great to have an improper fraction. So let's do one more down here. I'm going to do x1, y1, x2, y2, and then we'll write the formula. M equals, plug in y2 minus y1, which would be 7 minus 3 over 2 minus 2, and I get 4 over 0. There's a rule in math that says we can't divide by 0, so I can't have 0 in the denominator. So if that is the case, I can't put this in my calculator and find you're going to get something that says error. And so 4 divided by 0, whenever I have 0 in the denominator, that means we have a vertical line. I'm going to put that in parentheses down here. This is a vertical line, and the slope is undefined. Okay? The slope is undefined. When I have 0 in the denominator, the slope is undefined. Now you might remember that when you have 0 in the numerator, that's 0 divided by something, and that's 0. But when the 0 is in the denominator, it's undefined, which means it's a vertical line. So now let's look at a table over here. Okay? Using a table is very similar to using the slope formula, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, but something that you might want to do is just use the table to do your calculations. So I'm going to just say that this is x1, y1, and this is x2 and y2. So I'm just going to do 3.6 minus 2.6 is 1. And I'm going to do 3 minus negative 2 is 5. Well, let's see if it works again. Let's do 6 minus 4 is 2, and 15 minus 5 is 10. Another way you can look at it is, how do I get from 2.6 to 3.6? You add 1, and I'm going to put a plus sign. And how do I get from 4 to 6? You add 2. And how do I get from negative 2 to 3? You add 5. How do I get from 5 to 15? You add 10. So now the change in y over the change in x, which is y2 minus y1, the change in y over the change in x, x2 minus 1, is 1 over 5, or 2 over 10, which simplifies to 1/5. So the slope equals 1/5. Okay? Now let's look at the two graphs we have. Okay? When we're looking at a graph and we're looking at points on the graph, the way we want to identify slope is rise over run. Okay? Rise over run. So we've got 2 points on this graph, and I'm always encourage you to start with the lowest point on the graph. And so this one is my lowest point right here. So I'm going to start here, and I'm going to do rise over run to get to the other point. So how many do I have to go up? I'm going to draw loops just so you can see it. I have to go up 2, and up is positive, and I have to go to the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the left, which is negative. And so my slope is negative 2/5. Now let's identify that. I'm going to write rise over, and notice I'm leaving a lot of space. Run. So when we rise, if we rise up, it's positive. If we rise down, I know rise down, that's just going down, that is negative. If we run to the right, that is positive. And if we run to the left, that is negative. Okay? So, I rose, which means positive 2, and I ran to the left, which means negative 5. So my slope is 2 over negative 5, which I could also write as negative 2/5, where negative is next to the fraction bar instead of attached to one of those numbers. And we'll tell you why as we go on in this unit. And so, rise over run. Remember, you have to get up before you can go somewhere. So it's rise over run. So now let's look at the graph. On a graph, there's not 2 points that are identified with dots. So I need to see if I can find some. So I'm going to look pretty carefully. It looks like I can see there's a dot right there because the line crosses those vertical and horizontal lines right there. And so I'm going to look to see if I see another one going down here. It looks like there's one right here. Okay? So I'm going to use those 2 dots to do my rise over run. And so again, I'm going to rise over run. And we're going to go from the lowest point, and I'm going to rise up 1, 2, 3, 4. So my rise is 4. And I'm going to run from that point 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so I'm going to the right, so it's positive, so my slope is 4/5. Okay? I know, again, this is a review because you did study a lot about slope last year, but I just wanted to make sure you had a good handle on it. So know your slope formula, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, and then know how to do rise over run, and you're going to have slope down pat. So thanks for enjoying the interview, and for enjoying this video, and for taping it in your notes page right now.